Hi, my name is Michelle Reynolds.
Hi, I'm Marcia Curry.
And my name is Angie Parmar.
And my name is Shamroy Manning.
I'm Raj Venugopal.
Hi. I'm Emily.
My name is Anton Kocher.
I'm Sharon, and I'm a director in finance at Canada Post.
I work at Courtney, BC for Canada Post.
And I work as a human rights and employment equity specialist at Canada Post.
And I work in the Fairview, Alberta Post Office as the postmaster.
I'm a director in finance at Canada Post.
And I work in a mail processing plant at Canada Post.
And I work in engineering and maintenance at Canada Post.
So when you think about it, Canada Post is a unique company.
We're in every community in Canada.
From the quaint seaside towns in Atlantic Canada,
North and south, east and west, coast to coast, far and wide.
And all Canadians are our customers.
So it's important that our workplace reflects this diversity.
I counted myself in.
What a great introduction to our event today. There's a place for you at Canada Post. Welcome and good afternoon. My name is Cindy Mirage, and I'm a director in the Transformation Operations Group at Canada Post, and I'm also a professional engineer. I will be your host for our session today. I'd like to acknowledge that I'll be hosting from Ottawa, Ontario, on the traditional unceded territories of the Algonquin Nation. Many of you probably don't think of engineering at Canada Post when that parcel lands on your doorstep, but there's lots of engineering work that goes on behind the scenes. Our network has 21 parcel processing plants and hundreds of delivery depots across our network that our engineering team support every day for day-to-day operations and providing continuous improvements to support our many processes and our equipment. You may have also thought of Canada Post as a company that delivers letter mail, but now we've become very parcel-centric as we've seen parcel volumes grow over the years. And now we are inventing the future to better serve Canadians from coast to coast to provide a stronger Canada delivery. Before we get started, I just wanted to share one more video of how we use our engineering skills here at Canada Post.
I'm using my engineering skills.
I'm using my engineering skills.
I'm using my engineering skills.
I'm using my engineering skills to relocate a flat sorting machine.
Afin de faire la conception de nouveaux processus de livraison.
I'm currently leading a large integrated project that will use route optimization technology
to build a new conveyor system that helps automate manual processes,
to forecast growth and plan projects to increase our processing capacity in plants across the country.
En ce moment, je fais un stage à Post Canada en ingénierie des procédés.
To optimize processes in the letter mail work centers
by helping to transform the way we deliver our maintenance training to our technicians.
In analyzing, designing, and improving business processes.
To develop models for staffing and destination volume distribution that will help new projects launch smoothly. This is how I use my engineering skills to help achieve a stronger Canada deliver.
Our panel discussion today will be in line with the week's theme of equity, diversity, and inclusion. Our panelists will touch on some of the innovations that Canada Post is working on, our diverse workplace, mentorship, male allyship, cultural inclusivity, and our focus and commitment on women in engineering. Let's start with introducing the panel, and we'll start with Peter.
Great, thanks very much, Cindy. My name is Peter Whitchred. I am a director here at Canada Post. I've been a professional engineer for about 10 years or so, and I originally graduated at McMaster University in mechanical engineering. I'll pass it over to Lithania.
Thank you, Peter. I'm currently a manager with the service and quality team, and my background is in chemical and industrial engineering, and I've been with Canada Post for around 7 years. Now I'm gonna pass it over to Sonal.
Thanks, Lithania. Hi, everyone. My name is Sonal Mistry. I'm the director for process engineering for the Greater Toronto Area. I've been with the company for almost 19 years. I am a professional engineer and I graduated from Ryerson University in industrial engineering. I'm going to pass it over to Hannah next.
All right, thanks, Sonal. I'm Hannah Keating, and I'm the manager of the sort strategy team working on transformation projects across the country. I'm a graduate of mechanical engineering from the University of Western Ontario, and my PEng application is currently in progress. And now I'll pass it over to Thomas.
Thanks very much, Hannah. My name is Thomas Garrity. My background is mechanical engineering from the University of Waterloo, and I work here within the engineering department at Canada Post. I've been here for around 14 years in a bunch of different capacities, and now I'm in the automation development team with a heavy focus on robotics, looking at ways to automate some of our processes. Thanks very much for having me.
Great, thanks everyone. So we're going to get started with our session. And for those of you participating today, get your questions ready, and you can put them in the chat box. And we've reserved some time at the end to answer some of your questions. We'll also share a little bit later on our Women in Engineering email. If you have some questions that you think about after the session, or we don't get to them at the end, feel free to email and one of us will follow back up. Okay, here we go. So, as I mentioned, I think many people don't really think of Canada Post as a place where engineers work. I came to work at Canada Post 15 years ago as I was trying to decide what I want to do in my career next. I thought, this opportunity came up, I'll stay for a short time, because what does an engineer do at Canada Post? And here I am 15 years later and having a fantastic career within the engineering group, and also many parts of the other facets in the company. So as I said, I'm not surprised to hear that from people, and we have a few other people on the panel that are new to Canada Post. So I'll start with Peter, who started not that long ago. What surprised you the most about joining Canada Post?
Yeah, thanks very much, Cindy. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You hit it right on the head. I haven't been with the organization that long, just started last summer. And coming in, I was pretty shocked at the width and breadth of engineering experience here at Canada Post. I'll go through a few just things I've really noticed. It starts from kind of that more traditional engineering, particularly for new engineers who are starting their careers. Often this is where they kind of come into the field. So I am the Director of Environmental Sustainability with a focus on buildings. So just in the building piece of Canada Post, we have about 3,000 buildings across Canada that we maintain and build on an ongoing basis. So looking at mechanical design, for instance, so we have mechanical engineers, but even beyond that, not just kind of what traditionally the mechanical design, but as we move towards a more sustainable future, we're integrating new technologies into our designs. And so instead of looking at natural gas boilers, which was kind of the way it's been done in the past in the industry, looking at more like air source and ground source heat pumps. And newer technologies, and identifying how we can incorporate those into our buildings to reduce our GHG emissions. You move into some of the other fields like electrical engineering, structural engineering. We're putting solar panels on some of our buildings, and so electrical design and particularly structural really come into play with some of those systems. And again, these are fairly new technologies. They've been in the field for a while, but definitely for Canada Post, they're fairly new and haven't yet seen broad adoption. So it's really interesting stuff that we're implementing, incorporating with, building new zero carbon buildings. We have to use civil engineers as part of that process to figure out where we site the buildings and all the different factors that go into that. And we're also automating our buildings more and more to become more efficient over time. And so we're looking at building automation systems, specializing in IT, and that's where, more software, computer engineering, all that kind of stuff, those disciplines really come into play. But I think it's important, that's just the building side. I think it's also really important to recognize that Canada Post processes about 6.3 billion letters and packages a year. That's a lot. All that needs to be sorted. There's, as you mentioned off the bat, we have 21 processing plants across the country with very specialized processing equipment. All that equipment needs to be designed, it needs to be managed, and we have ongoing processes that become more and more efficient over time because we're seeing more and more packages need to be processed every year, and we need to become more efficient, not only to be able to handle the increased workload, but also to become a better a grid citizen, so use less electricity over time, which means, and there's a lot of engineering that goes into that. Beyond that, Thomas mentioned some of the cool things that we're doing around, robot sorters and using robots to move packages around our plants. We have optical recognition software that we've been using for a long time, many years, which recognizes, as you can imagine, many different types of handwriting when people send letters. And you can just imagine kind of the sophisticated engineering that goes in behind that. We have engineers that design equipment like community mailboxes and those sorts of things were designed in-house. And also the analysis side. So I have a member of my team, for instance, that analyzes different engineering processes to determine the best way that we can move forward with our some of our strategies. So that analysis directly affects, how the organization is going to move forward. But even beyond that kind of traditional engineering approach, we have lots of opportunity for engineers who maybe don't want to do the design anymore. That's why I started off my career, but now I manage projects, I manage people. And so there's lots of opportunities to go beyond that kind of strict engineering design into other fields. It's really the great thing about Canada Post. One of the things that has really struck me is that there is really a culture of lifelong learning that can happen throughout your career, not just the first couple of years. And you've noticed from some of our panelists who have been here for 10, 15, 20 plus years, there's great interest to stick around because there are so many opportunities. But that's just kind of my take on it. So I'll stop there. I'll pass it over to Lithania to speak some more.
Thank you, Peter. So for me there are many things that I am impressed about Canada Post, but before I start, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about myself. So I am coming from a non-traditional engineering background and probably non-traditional industry. My background, as I mentioned, it's in chemical and industrial engineering. And I completed my studies in Latin America, where I'm from. And before joining Canada Post, I worked in the oil and gas industry for 7 years. And well, I was working in that industry. Canada Post posting came across. And this was really interesting because I had the same thinking that Canada Post was just a simple mail delivery company, not engineers. But when I saw this posting from the network transportation design, my thinking about Canada Post really changed. That posting was really technical and very interested in the role and requirements. So I really decided to apply. At that time, I was completing my second master's degree with the University of Ottawa with the Faculty of Engineering. So in the middle of that process, I was called for an interview. And being so many years in the field, so I've been around for 20 years. For first time, I actually had an interview in the field with a very well-balanced panel. My interview, there was a very skilled transportation manager. She really knows all about the transportation. She's really impressive. And also there was PhD in operations research, and his background was in industrial engineering, and he completed his degree in Iran, where he was originally from. Well, that was pretty impressive. A lot of talent in that room and very diverse backgrounds. So that was really impressive for me. And well, I've been in Canada Post many years now, and I still get impressed by other things. And for me now, it's I'm currently a manager in Canada Post, but I want to continue to develop my career. And for that, Canada Post has many support systems, and that I find really interesting, and I'm grateful for those things. And I have access to coaching, to mentorship from executives. They really spend time to help you to develop. And I see in Canada Post also that diversity is not just a program. I see diversity everywhere. I see it with my peers, different backgrounds, different industries, and I see it in the executive team. I see people like with my background that look like me, that sound like me, and these facts really make me think that I can continue to develop further as Canada Post is open to diversity and includes all of us. So just to wrap it up, I think search about Canada Post. It's really amazing, all the things that are done here, as you mentioned, Peter. And I think if you join, you will find all these amazing things that as everyone has found that are really impressive about the company. I'm gonna pass it over to Cindy for the next question.
Thanks, Peter and Lethania. I like that lifelong learning. I do see it both as if you want to grow in a technical role, or if you want to grow your career and move on to project management or leading large projects, having that engineering background really does help. And I echo what Lethania talks about is the diversity. I've definitely started to see a more diverse workforce, but many more women in leadership roles as well as just engineering roles, but moving up in the ranks as well. So it's definitely changed over the past 15 years that I've been here. On to our next question. So many of you who are taking engineering now or started or in engineering careers, you may have found that when I was in school, for sure, I was one of the only women in my electrical engineering program at McMaster, and over 20 years ago. I'm assuming it's somewhat the same, but I'm starting to see things change. When I started working, I was often the only woman in a meeting, maybe one or two of us. Didn't really bother me, but as you move along, you wonder, where are all the women? And so I have started to see that the workplaces have started to slowly change, including Canada Post. But we are still in line with that national average that we're seeing from Engineers Canada. We're about 20% of women within engineering roles at Canada Post. And we do have, we are trying to move the needle, and there's lots of commitments within the organization to see how we can increase that number to be to that 2030 target that Engineers Canada is trying to achieve. So I'll pass it off to Sonal to talk a little bit about some of our women in engineering committees and work that we're doing to try to increase that number. Sonal?
Thanks, Cindy. So you brought up a good point with regards to 20%. So I want to share back that amongst the panel, I am the most senior with 19 years at Canada Post. And I will tell you that within my career, I've never been bored with the amount of engineering skill applications we've had in the company. And when it comes to equity, I wanted to share with you that when I was hired, Canada Post back then was still leading with regards to equity, where the hiring team that I was part of, and we were hired as a group, it was an equal 50-50 equitable hiring phase. There was 20 engineers that were hired, which was amazing. And 50% of them were she's and hers, and 50% was he and him. Coming to 2022 and really understanding back a couple of years ago, it was really alarming to really see that in Canada, where we're so diverse, we have so much great opportunity that we're still seeing a 20% she-her ratio in universities, which was really alarming. You know, things have changed in the world, things have progressed. However, our ratio in engineering, including with STEM, has really stagnated and even declined at times. So at Canada Post, given that we are a big company, in every part of the country, we connect every single citizen to the country. So we deliver to every point of call, is what we say as a company. And one thing that we've spearheaded at the company is recognizing that within the engineering community, we have a very strong community in the company. We utilize skill sets within engineering in every department, as you mentioned, with Lethania and with Peter and Hannah and Thomas will share it afterwards. We are committed to helping ourselves as well as the community improve the ratio within women in engineering. So as a company, what we've done is created a committee focusing on 4 pillars on helping ourselves and the community to increase awareness and support she and hers, girls, young women to pursue engineering. And the 4 pillars are, number 1, 30 by 30. We are partnering up with Engineers Canada as well as other communities across the country to really focus on young girls and showing them that engineering could be a career option. Our goal is aligned with Engineers Canada to achieve 30% ratio by 2030. So we have a committee that's really focused on partnering up with high schools, elementary schools, universities, really showing them that engineering is a career option for the future for young women. Second thing is about engineering, increasing engineers within Canada Post, as well as providing great career opportunities and co-ops for university students. We recognize that at Canada Post, we have a very good team of engineers, especially she and hers. And we want to be able to provide great career opportunities, whether they want to go into a different department or elsewhere. And that's something that we really recognize, that a career opportunity is not just a corporate ladder, it can be a jungle gym. And at Canada Post, we do provide those opportunities. So we want to make sure that we have those resources available for our employees. Secondly, we recognize that in universities, when you're really getting into your school and you really want to get as much experience as possible, we do partner up with universities to offer internships, summer student programs that are 4-month long, all the way up to 12 months at times as well. And previously we've done 16 months as well. So we really want to partner up with universities to provide that great career experience at Canada Post that will help students build their resumes. Third pillar we're working on and we're working towards is women in leadership. We recognize that individuals have career opportunities and they want to pursue a leadership role, getting into that project management, project leadership, having a team to lead. And we recognize that by establishing a women in leadership mentorship program, where individuals who want to see their career progress in a different manner, especially in a leadership role, are partnered up with senior executives and as a mentor, because everyone needs a cheerleader. Everyone needs someone to follow up with and ask questions, and that's something we're focusing on. And the last one, and very importantly, is male allyship and inclusivity. This is really important because in this program and this committee, it's very important to recognize that this is not one gender, one culture issue. It is a partnership and it's about support. Our male allies, including myself, have had great male allies that have cheered me on, have cheered others on. And it's really important that we recognize that as we progress as a company, as we progress in a community in Canada, male allyship is really important. We need to make sure we have those conversations as a whole to recognize that there are barriers that need to be addressed and we're supporting each other. So those are the 4 key pillars that Canada Post that we're really spearheading and partnering up within the company as well as the community. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks, Sonal. So that was a great overview. There's many of us on the committee that are part of one of the subcommittees for the Women Engineering group. I'm part of the 30 by 30 committee. We're trying to inspire young women to consider engineering. And I know for me, it was in high school, it was a few of those teachers that inspired me to go into engineering. But if you don't find that spark in school, then you might miss your boat. So this is a great opportunity and I'm glad I get to be a part of that. So in case you missed it as well, today on NEM's Twitter, our VP of Operations Transformation, we posted 2 blogs, one in French and one in English, where Ian talks a little bit about why gender diversity in the workplace is important. So if you get a chance to take a look at that later on today, please do. And I think we'll drop it in the chat for you as well. So the next thing is about cultural inclusivity. And so cultural inclusivity is having a sense of belonging, that everyone in the organization feels valued, heard, and seen. From bottom up and top to bottom, everyone understands what their role is in the culture in the organization. So I'm going to pass it off to Hannah to see how has cultural inclusivity at Canada Post grown and fostered your career so far at Hannah.
All right, thanks, Cindy. So I really think that for a workplace to be inclusive, everyone needs to feel comfortable in the culture before they can feel comfortable sharing their ideas and contributing to the organization. And for me, one of the things that I've found has helped me the most to find my place in a culture and an organization was finding a mentor. Someone I had things in common with, someone I had a shared background with, or shared experience where I can really see myself in that person. and see myself reflected has been one of the things that's really helped me find workplaces more inclusive and more inviting, and help me start to find ways that I can actually find my voice and start sharing my opinions and ideas and concepts. And so when I started out in engineering, the first company and the first organization I joined was a relatively small manufacturing plant in southwestern Ontario. And I was one of very few women in a technical role, and in fact, the only woman who had done an engineering degree. So I had some really wonderful male allies at that organization, and they were great for helping me figure out the technical side of things, but they didn't have that shared experience. And so it took me a long time to get really comfortable voicing my opinion in an area where I felt a little bit like an outsider. So then a few years later, when I moved to Canada Post in Ottawa, I was shocked to find this really wonderful community of women in various engineering roles at various stages of their career. And as Sonal had mentioned before, Canada Post has been trying really hard to sort of increase those numbers. And for me, coming from an area where I hadn't had those women mentors, it was incredible. And I connected with them quite quickly, and I was able to use them as these informal mentors who could give me guidance, make sure I was included on projects, and really help avoid some of the challenges that they'd faced earlier on in their careers. But then it wasn't until I had my director actually set me up with a formal mentor that I really understood the benefit of that type of formal mentoring relationship. So at the time, I was interested in moving into a management role. And he suggested, again, being a wonderful male ally, that I start meeting regularly with someone outside of our team who could give me the perspective and advice and help me navigate some of my anxieties around moving up into more of a management role. You know, how would I deal with managing someone older? How would men actually listen to me? Would men want to work with me? Sort of a lot of those anxieties that as a young woman working in a male-dominated field, you tend to face. So he did, and he found me a woman working as a director in another group with a similar engineering background to me that he thought I'd get along with really well, and it was fantastic. And we got along right away. We started meeting up once a month, and she really helped me to work through some of my problems at work and gave me that encouragement and perspective that helped me realize that I could be successful in a leadership role at Canada Post, and helped me figure out sort of where the opportunities were. And then it really paid off when an opportunity came up significantly earlier than I had expected for a manager job that I thought was a complete long shot. But we discussed the opportunity. We sat down, and she gave me some tips on how to talk to my director at the time and my manager, and how to prepare my application. And then when I got the surprising call for an interview, she also helped me prep for the interview. And it was wonderful to have that perspective, because she let me know, you know, from her point of view of being an interviewee, but also from being an interviewer. So I got both perspectives on what they were looking for. And she also gave me the confidence to say, yeah, go ask your colleagues, go ask your manager, go ask directors, go ask all these other people. And to my complete and utter surprise, thanks to all of this preparation, I got the job. It was a long shot, but it was wonderful. And I could really see the influence of how having that mentor helped me to succeed. And now that I've moved into a manager role myself, I found that I now have the opportunity to really start giving back and trying to create that inclusive culture on my team with the people that I interact with every day. And I was fortunate this past year, I think Sonal and Cindy both mentioned that we've started a mentorship program as part of the Women in Leadership, part of the 30 by 30 and all of the other roles. So I'm part of that leadership group, and I was fortunate to be part of the pilot project on formal mentorship, both as a mentee and for the first time in my career, also as a mentor. So we did surveys, we got matched. It was a little bit more of a formal process. I didn't need someone in my corner saying, yeah, I can set you up with someone I know. It was very formalized. And I found that I was able to get a lot out of both streams. But the most rewarding part for me personally was being able to pass on my experiences to my mentee and help him overcome some of the hurdles that I'd faced. So I helped him find career development resources and figure out who to connect with to move some of his projects forward. Because Canada Post is an enormous corporation. I think Cindy had mentioned we have close to 70,000 employees across the country. So it can be tricky to navigate, and having someone to guide you in the right direction was extremely helpful in my career. And so I really wanted to pass that on. But it's not just these mentoring relationships that make a place feel inclusive. It's everyone in the workplace who contributes to the culture. And within engineering, those identifying as male do make up a significant portion of the people in the workplace, which really makes male allyship an important aspect of creating an inclusive culture. So I'll pass it over to Thomas, who's part of our male allyship committee, to talk a little bit more about that.
Sure, thanks, Hannah. I was listening to what you said. I really agree with you. You brought up some great points about, building that culture of inclusivity and how a mentor can help with that. And I agree that, getting that feeling of support can help you be more comfortable and allow you to sort of contribute more within your role. But sometimes, like you mentioned, it's not that easy to find someone like yourself. So there's not always someone who has that shared experience, and the numbers can actually be stacked against you. So case in point, as Sonal mentioned, 20% of engineers are women. So it's easy to imagine a situation where there is no other female. And the number of barriers can sort of be that much larger for other underrepresented groups. So in these types of situations, the larger established group can play a real significant role as an ally and help build that culture of inclusivity within the workplace. So allyship being intentional and deliberate and conscious support of an underrepresented group, and often by someone who's already established within the profession. So the established party, that established group, already has a platform, and this position can make changing the culture or creating a culture of inclusivity much easier. So we sort of see this like top down. It's when change comes from the top down, it carries a lot more weight than trying to get started something from the bottom up. So here at CPC, I'm part of the Gender Equality and Male Allyship Group. It's a relatively new group, it's small, it's made up of both men and women. And the aim of the group is to actively support women within engineering through the intentional, positive, and conscious efforts to overcome what may be unconscious biases or unknown barriers or unintentional results caused by the profession being, traditionally male dominant for so long. And the goal is ultimately to ensure that, all those individuals who have the talent for engineering, who have a drive, who have enthusiasm for engineering, remain in the profession as contributing members and are able to reach their full potential. So part of this group, what we did, we hosted back in October our own panel discussion internal to Canada Post, where we introduced the topic of male allyship to the broader audience, and it was well received within the company. And I think it covered a lot of the key elements that help answer this question that Cindy was asking of, how do you build this culture of inclusivity? So within that discussion, we talked about the value of diversity, and the understanding that there is strength in diversity. Diversity goes beyond representation. There are benefits in a diverse workforce for all participants. Diverse workforces bring a variety of different perspectives and experiences and backgrounds, and are therefore sort of more innovative as a result. They've been shown to in turn sort of have higher profits, attract top quality talent, and also have a higher degree of employee retention. So educating people on the benefits of diversity is important. And I just sort of noticed that, the VP sort of wrote that blog post on the value of diversity. This is exactly sort of where this falls in, educating people that there is value in it, bringing people to the table and having them all understand that, this benefits everyone. We also in this panel discussion talked quite openly about barriers that do exist and recognizing how inequality can play out in the workplace or within the profession. And I think this is an important part of improving the work culture, not necessarily to dwell on the problems, but to acknowledge that they exist and understand them so that you can work to find solutions and sort of better practices. And this is another way of getting people on board. So for instance, in my own career, I've seen unconscious bias play out in the workplace. When I first arrived here at CPC, I was about 25 years old. And my supervisor at the time was reviewing the project schedules. After he completed reviewing my schedule, he said something like, "This is looking really good. I want you to go assist your female colleague with her project schedule." I mean, he used her name, obviously. But truth be told, I had already worked with her. but not because she needed help, because I needed the help. She was the senior engineer and I was the junior engineer, but my supervisor had mistakenly assumed the opposite based on his, the way we looked and this unconscious bias. He was actually, really pro-women, pro-diversity, pro-equality, and encouraged women within the profession. And he was a very good engineer and a good supervisor. But it's an example of how even folks with the best intentions can still unknowingly impact someone's professional career. And it also sort of highlights how some of these biases are already baked into the way we operate, it being, a male-dominated field for so long. And so the ability to speak openly about these barriers and the willingness to acknowledge them and state that they sort of exist and work to find improvements is a really important step. And the last part of the panel discussion really focused on the intentional pursuit of changes and the implementation of better practices. So you need to actually consciously intend to find solutions. So this is the most valuable part of the panel discussion. And interestingly enough, how we conduct ourselves during meetings and the personal dynamics within meetings came up repeatedly. It's interesting to know that the personal dynamics is often what affects this culture of inclusivity. So meeting etiquette really emerged as a theme of panel discussion. Tools like meeting agendas, raising of your hands, appropriate time allocations can really provide this framework so that the meetings can be productive and inclusive. And in the coming months, the group, the Gender Equality and Male Allyship group, sort of will examine some different areas of the workplace, with the intent of assembling sort of best practices for those areas as well after, we discuss them. So themes that we could look at may include, mentorship as noted, or job assignments, or how leave is handled sometimes, or whatever sort of may be suggested by some of the parties. So to answer, Cindy's question, I know this is a little long, but, the three things that I would focus on are education, the willingness to have an open discussion and acknowledge the barriers, and then the intentional and conscious pursuit of these improvements. Those three things contribute, a large part towards building this culture of inclusivity. And maybe I'll also note that you don't actually have to be in a leadership type role to make this happen. It definitely is easier, but you don't have to be there. And so I would encourage folks, whether they're leaders or not, to sort of look for ways to improve within their own school career or work career. Thanks.
Thanks, Hannah and Thomas. That's a great point. It's not just in the workplace. I do find that outside the workplace, with you meeting with younger people or growing their career, you can always be a mentor and help shape what that's going to look like. I know for me, I've had a lot of informal mentors in my career at Canada Post. I've had a few male allies, which I didn't even know that was a name until last year when we struck our committee, but they really have helped and championed and been a cheerleader in my career. And I often go to them for advice. But like I mentioned at Canada Post, I'm starting to see more women leaders emerging. So I have a larger base to kind of reach out to. And as I'm moving on in my career, I've noticed that some of the younger, I'm not going to say just women, younger engineers have come to me to ask questions. And I often wow, I wish I had somebody to have asked that question. It's not that hard, but I had no one to guide me. So I'm always happy to kind of be there to help support other people's career. So early on, both Peter really talked about all the different disciplines that you see here at Canada Post, from civil to mechanical and chemical, and even just on this panel. And I studied electrical engineering at Canada at McMaster University, and I have been both in technical roles as well as non-technical roles, doing project management or even service and quality. And so there are lots of opportunities for engineers at Canada Post. And so I'm going to look to Lithania, who I know has been here for about 7 years and has had a few different parts of the organization she's gotten to be a part of. So Lithania, maybe you can share your experience in a few of the different groups.
Sure, Cindy. So yes, in these 7 years, I've been in very exciting places in Canada Post, and actually none of them with the engineering team. I've been in the transportation team, service and quality team, and the business intelligence team. And yes, I'm coming from oil and gas and chemical engineering, but I've been able to find transferable skills that I've been able to use, and doesn't really matter much about where or what. And these skills are process design, process improvement, my analytical skills, and my ability to continue my learning. And in my process design and improvement, In general, in Canada Post, we have so many processes. We have to assess situations, identify challenges, and come up with sustainable solutions, which I had plenty of opportunities to apply within the network design team. Here I had to optimize the mail flow, which had to respond to the very demanding e-commerce growth. And in order to keep service on target and Canadians happy, we had to really move quick. Other thing, as I mentioned, is my analytical skills. They are transferable from all these fields. And in Canada Post and in general, in many industries, the amount of data that is produced is impressive. And therefore, while designing network solutions, I have to look at millions of data points where parcels were picked up, were sorted, delivered, where I had to find patterns, see trends, forecast events, simulate scenarios, compare and measure processes. I can tell you that my analytical skills were put to test in this company many times. The good news is all this exposure and experience in network design with all this data helped me to get a promotion within the business intelligence team. And in that team, I was able to bring my past experience, knowledge, but I had to learn a lot of different and new things. I had to learn softwares and analytical tools that enhance my skill and my ability to further help and produce better data and faster insights. But as I said, I had to be willing to learn and put pressure on myself to do it. But I am happy that I did that, and I've been continuing to do it because these things help the company to gain visibility and continue to follow fact-based decision making. So Canada Post is really complex, and I hope that you take that from this call, because there is so many things that you can learn here and where you can use your engineering skills. I'm sure I'm gonna continue to learn, and that is because we really have the purpose that we want to make sure we meet the Canadian expectations in service, and we continue to grow. So I think I will continue to be put to test here, and I think it's a great place to continue to learn. So with that, I'm gonna pass it over to Cindy for the next question.
Thanks, Lithania. It's a good example of the lifelong learning that Peter talked about to grow your career, and both technically and professionally. So Peter, I know you're in the real estate group, and we talked about how the different engineering skills and projects. Maybe you can share with us of how some of the things that we do to provide an inclusive workspace for our employees and ensure that we address the diversity of our customer base across the country.
Sure, yeah, absolutely, Cindy. Yeah, I think it's important to recognize, we're not just talking about our employees, which are an important foundation, but also our customers, because we mentioned a few times we have locations all across the country. We serve all Canadians. And so we have to recognize the importance of being able to cater to all those groups. So I'll just touch on a couple different programs we have going on. We have lots of different things happening at Canada Post. I can't touch on everything, but just a couple that I'm particularly proud of as an employee here. The first I'll mention is around accessibility for not only our staff, but also our customers. So we follow the Rick Hansen Foundation accessibility requirements when it comes to actually being able to access our site. We have several buildings that have been audited over the past number of years and upgraded to meet these accessibility requirements. We continue to move forward with our portfolio. As you can imagine, with 3,000 buildings, all various, some as old as 100 years, some quite new, there's definitely interesting challenges associated with implementing these processes. And that kind of ties into the kind of the interesting work that happens on the engineering side, because every project is different, especially when you're dealing with existing buildings. They're all different. They're in different locations. They have different challenges. And so you really need to get your thinking caps on as you go through and design solutions in order to meet these accessibility requirements. Another program that we have that I'll touch on involves what we call community hubs. So these are locations in northern communities that help us to foster reconciliation with Indigenous groups. We have a couple that are on their way right now. And it's not just a post office, it includes many different services. It's designed to include different services for the entire community. So kind of exactly as it sounds, a hub for the community. And as you can imagine, for some of these northern communities, what I just talked about, where location can be a challenge or bring up interesting challenges that need to be solved. And so there's lots of that happening, lots of interesting engineering puzzles that need to be worked out. Stuff like, in those locations, we're doing stuff like EV charging for the community and those sorts of things. But it's really a way to reach out to Indigenous groups across Canada, which is great. We are noticing more and more, where gender neutral washrooms, for instance, are becoming more common within our facilities to better meet the realities of our workforce, because the company is changing over time, and that is recognized as being more and more important. And also, last thing I'll mention is multi-faith rooms, which is pretty interesting because we recognize we have very diverse staff, and our staff has very diverse needs. So having rooms that are free and open to all to be able to use in whatever way their faith deems is important for our employees, and making really having that, Hannah and Thomas talked about it quite a bit, having that culture inclusivity that we think is so important, and actively pursuing that. So just a kind of a brief overview. There's lots of different things going on, but yeah, I'll just pass it back to you now, Cindy.
Yeah, that's great. So I've just a last point before we move on to our Q&A is just in terms of thinking of inclusive workforce. I often think about when we're designing new equipment, I'm on the shorter side. I'm 5 feet, and I've often got to be the model just to make sure that, it considers everybody in the organization, short and tall. So I'm always happy to see that we consider some of us like me who are a little bit vertically challenged. So thank you very much to the panelists today. That was a great discussion. Like I mentioned, if you had any more questions, we do have the Q&A coming up, as well as you can contact us at the Women in Engineering email. So I'll just maybe we'll just show one last video of how we can show what engineers look like from coast to coast.
What does an engineer do at Canada Post? We are a dynamic group of 400 employees working in engineering. We design, maintain, and improve the work of over 68,000 colleagues who deliver the mail to every Canadian. We have engineers from every discipline, working in every province and territory in the country. We design buildings, automate processes, and use simulation to design and improve workflows. We use data analytics to make business decisions. We design software and hardware that is safe to use. We design logistic networks and install new technologies and equipment. We find better ways to reach out to remote communities. We focus on sustainability and continuously improve. We even help get mail to Canadians through natural disasters. We are Canada Post.
All right, and I think Danielle is going to take on some of the questions, or start off with some of our questions from the chat.
Yes, thank you, Cindy. Sorry about that. Yes, we had a couple of questions come in through the chat. Thank you for the questions, everyone. So first question was from someone who says, I wonder how new immigrants can enter Canada Post with an international master's degree in electrical engineer with a SCADA automation background and project management experience. I heard resources needed in design for solar, but is there a team who work on operation and maintenance side who do this? How can I connect with the team here? And is it possible to get references from here to apply for a post? Thank you. So over to the panel.
So can I take that one, Cindy?
Yes, please, Sonal.
Okay, so great question. And when it comes to immigrants or new immigrants, Canada Post does not discriminate at all when it comes to education from other countries, whether you have your undergrad from another country or a master's degree. We are really open to inclusive and diversity, and I think that's what we have, including in my team as well in Toronto. So when it comes to opportunities like that, you just need to look at the positions available and postings. Electrical engineering degrees are valued in the company, especially within the diverse departments, and that's really key to understand. Is that we have a lot of engineering departments, and engineers are in various departments. So you may not see the role highlighted in the career opportunities as engineering or electrical engineering. The title of the position may be different. It may say mechanics, it may say officer, it may say analyst. So it's really important that if you're looking for opportunities, you kind of filter through everything to make sure that your degree and your requirements, or I guess your skill set and your credentials meets the position there. I heard resources are needed to design for solar, but is there any team? So operations and mechanics. So what that is a separate engineering team, and we are looking for individuals for that role. One thing that's key that I'll just kind of put in there is millwrights. Millwrights are who we're looking for as well within the maintenance and operations side as well. So when you look at your skill set and you look at your degree, you want to take a look at it from a full set. How can you connect to the team? I guess from here, from the panel, I would say and suggest is, link to connect to someone through LinkedIn. Email the email website or our Canada Post CPC engineering email as well. See how you can connect yourselves. But I would say LinkedIn is a wonderful opportunity to make connections too.
Thank you, Sonal. That actually answers, we had quite a few questions on that, on how people, engineers with engineering backgrounds can apply to Canada Post. So yeah, like Sonal just said, reach out on LinkedIn or find somebody on LinkedIn, because as the panelists were saying, Cindy and Sonal, our positions are not specifically named engineers, that they're analysts, they're officers, they're different titles. So definitely reach out to us, and we can definitely open dialogue about possibly working at Canada Post.
And also, Danielle, I just wanted to reach out because I was looking at the chat box. So we actually have 36 positions requiring engineering degrees. Undergraduate is an asset. Any experience on that? So you just, again, it's not the two. There are many. So again, take a look at that. And with respect to experience, we're looking for those that are new graduates, all the way up to professional engineers as well. So you just have to keep an eye on it from that perspective to see what opportunities there are. And that's countrywide. That's the great thing about this company, is that we have coast to coast engineering requirements. So definitely from that part, please take a look at the canadapost.ca website, as well as other career portals that we do post on as well. So we do post on other career portals as well for Canada Post positions.
Amazing. Amazing, thank you. And actually a nice segue into a next question is maybe are Canada Post salaries competitive? And what about the benefits? Are there abilities for staff to move around within the organization and take advantage of new opportunities?
So maybe I can take that, since I've been hiring a few people lately. So I would say that because Canada Post, certainly at the analyst and technical level, which is the teams that I typically hire for, they are unionized positions for the engineers. So they're represented by the PSAC Union of Postal Communications Employees, UPCE. So you can look, those salaries are publicly available. If you look up UPCE, PSAC, you can find the current collective agreement and you can see what the current salary ranges are for technical positions, which are the T-level positions. Typically, we hire T1s and T2s as entry levels, depending on your type of experience in the position. But those are a lot of the positions that Sonal mentioned for analyst or officer or technical advisor. That's where those positions would land on those ranges. And the salary is reasonably competitive within, Canada Post is a Crown corporation, so we are governed by Treasury Board, so they are fairly competitive within the within those Treasury Board governed groups. Was there another part to the question? I can't remember if there was another part to the question.
Just a bit about our benefits. So yeah, our benefits are
our benefits
quite
are good. Our benefits are good. I've recently compared them to, coming from private industry, very competitive benefits, good vacation, start with 3 weeks vacation. That's a great benefit. And generally speaking, we're a company that really likes to take care of its employees. And I would say, especially during COVID, Canada Post did an exceptional job of ensuring that employees were well taken care of across the board.
And the only thing, I'll jump on this sec. The only thing I would add, I come from the nonprofit sector. I worked in nonprofit for 7-8 years, and I noticed a distinct difference in coming to Canada Post. As Hannah said, benefits are great. The salary is excellent, very reasonable, particularly related, compared to other industries across the country. And to the second part of the question about moving around within the organization, I think that's one of the huge benefits of joining a corporation that's the size of Canada Post. I think the video said, 68,000 employees. I mean, not all that is engineering, but it is a large organization and there's a lot of opportunity. And I've been, again, speaking as someone who's hasn't been here for too long, but I've been really impressed with the human resources side of Canada Post and the ability of someone to recognize potential opportunities and work towards those opportunities. So if you come in and you say, hey, that looks like a great job over there, I want to get there. And you have that active discussion of, in 2 years or whatever, I want to be working over there. And your supervisor manager will work with you in order to get you the skills to allow that to happen. Similar to what Hannah mentioned before with working with her manager to get to those opportunities. So there's a lot of that is occurring at Canada Post. And so I think that's a huge benefit.
Awesome, thank you. I think we're just about out of time. So maybe I'll just pass it over to Cindy. But before we do that, thank you everyone who submitted a question in the chat. I'm going to post the general email where you can, if you send in your question, someone will follow up with you right away with an answer. So apologies we didn't get to you today, but if you send an email, we'll follow up with you right away. Thank you. So over to you, Cindy.
Yeah, that's great. So so if you put that in, we will follow up, maybe not today, but in the coming days, we'll find the right person to get in contact with you. But thank you very much for joining today. And thank you to the panelists for the great discussion. So happy that we got to be a part of the event today. And thank you to all our partners from NEM for making it such a great event. Have a great day.